Good morning, children. So we were studying about the cell structure. The plasma membrane we were dealing, and I told you that the plasma membrane is selectively permeable membrane. Why the plasma membrane is known as selectively permeable? Because it allows the passage of only some substances. See, some substances like carbon dioxide or oxygen, it moves across the cell membrane by a process known as diffusion. What is this diffusion? Diffusion means the passage of substances from a higher concentration to a lower concentration. The passage of substances, the spontaneous movement. Spontaneous means a continuous movement. The spontaneous movement of a substance from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration, that is known as the diffusion. Some substances like carbon dioxide or oxygen move across the cell membrane by a process known as diffusion. I think you understood the term diffusion. See, the process is going on in our body. That means the substances, the spontaneous movement of the substances from a higher concentration to a lower concentration is known as a diffusion. See, carbon dioxide, then other waste materials, it is to be accumulated in higher concentration inside the cell. In the cells, the external environment, the concentration of the carbon dioxide is low. In the cell, the waste materials is accumulated, and during that accumulation, the concentration of carbon dioxide is increasing. But around the cell, that means the cell environment, the carbon dioxide level is low. So that from the higher concentration, the carbon dioxide is moving to the lower concentration. There is a difference in the concentration of carbon dioxide inside and outside the cell. See, if this is a cell, see, the concentration of the carbon dioxide is high here. The environment, surrounding environment, the concentration of carbon dioxide is low. So, the carbon dioxide moves from the higher concentration to the lower concentration. So, that process is known as the diffusion. I think you understood. Similarly, the oxygen also enters the cell by a process of diffusion when the level of the concentration of oxygen inside the cell decreases. Likewise, here if it is a cell, if the concentration of oxygen is very low, what is happening here? The oxygen is coming from the external environment to the cell. Here from the cell to the external environment, and in the case of oxygen, from the external environment to the cell, the oxygen is moving. These two process, it is moving from the higher concentration to the lower concentration, and this process is known as the diffusion. So you understood the spontaneous movement of the substances from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration is known as diffusion. And there is a question here, how carbon dioxide and oxygen moves in and out of the cell. Then water also moves by the law of diffusion. The movement of water molecules through a selectively permeable membrane is known as osmosis. So, I told the term selectively, the osmosis will take place only with the help of the selectively permeable membrane. But in the case of diffusion, there is no need of selectively permeable membrane. Here in the osmosis, the movement of the water molecules is through the selectively permeable membrane. So, the movement of water across the plasma membrane is also affected by the amount of the substances dissolved in water. Thus, osmosis is the passage of water from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. So I think you understood the term diffusion and osmosis. Diffusion means the spontaneous movement of the substance from the higher concentration to the lower concentration, and osmosis is the passage of water molecules from a higher concentration to a lower concentration through a selectively permeable membrane. So coming to the next point, what will happen if we put an animal cell or a plant solution in a plant cell in a sugar solution or salt? What will be happening there? So we are putting a animal cell or a plant cell into a solution of a sugar or salt in water. That means a sugar solution or the salt solution. If the medium of the surrounding cell has a higher water concentration than the cell. See the next point. Here if the cell, then the surrounding medium, we are putting the cell in the sugar solution or the salt solution. Here the concentration of the water, this solution is very high. What is happening here? Can you say? See, the cell will gain water by the process of osmosis. Such a solution is known as a hypertonic solution. This solution is known as a hypertonic. You understood? See, the concentration of the water is high, so that the water moves from this region to the cell. You understood? So this solution is known as the hypertonic solution. See, this is the first case. Then in the second case, if the concentration of the cell and the surrounding medium is same, both the medium, the cell and the solution have the same concentration. What is happening? There is no net movement of water across the cell membrane. Such a solution is known as a isotonic solution. Such a solution is known as a isotonic. See, the hypertonic means if the concentration of the water is high, the water moves from this region to the cell. So this type of solution is known as a hypertonic. The cell will gain water. The cell is gaining water by osmosis, and this solution is known as the hypertonic solution. Isotonic means if the medium has exactly the same water concentration as the cell, there will be no net movement of the water molecules across this permeable membrane. Such type of solution is known as a isotonic solution. Thank you.